Morning, good evening, everyone. I'm Jayesh Ramnani, the Executive Director for Arkansas Asia Business Council now. We used to be called Arkansas Association of Asian Businesses until the Feb of this year, and then we met at Hot Springs, and a lot of you were there to witness that we had a new identity for the organization. It's called Arkansas Asia Business Council now, and today is the first briefing for that for the new organization name. So welcome to the Q1 Arkansas Asia briefing. For those who don't know, we meet quarterly to talk about the recent activities or the recent things that's happening or the recent trends that are picking up. To go into the details about it, we bring in the renowned speakers from the area. Especially, we try to find people in Arkansas. We have a lot of talent in Arkansas, and that's what you are going to see today. This is our agenda. We have two speakers. I'll introduce them one by one. And without further ado, let me start introducing our first one. Our first speaker this morning has a resume that reads like a who's who in the tech innovation. Rajat Paharia is known as the father of gamification. He literally created that industry when he founded Bunchball in 2005, when he went on to spend nearly a decade at Google, working on some of their most important products: Maps, augmented reality, Nest smart home devices, and HR technology. And he authored a New York Times bestseller, holds a master in computer science from Stanford, and has led product strategy for companies like Adobe, Ford, and Coca-Cola and past as well. But here is what makes today's talk so timely. Rajat recently founded Ask Steve, a tool designed to democratize AI by putting it in the hands of employees, not just the big tech companies. And then he moved to Bella Vista 2 years ago and has been deeply involved in our startup ecosystem. In fact, as we are speaking, he is actually at Pine Bluff attending an event for Conductor, AI Conductor, who people know is a big startup incubator in Northwest or in Arkansas. And then he mentors at Fuel and Bounds and lecturing at the University of Arkansas, keynote at the Heartland Challenge. So he's everywhere, guys. He has been promised, he has seen the promise of AI up close, and he has seen the dangers. Today, he's here to share what business leaders need to know about Gen AI, not the hype, but the real risk and challenges we are facing. So, Rajat, welcome to the stage. I'll stop
Great.
sharing so
Thank
you
you,
can start
Jess.
sharing.
I'm gonna start sharing my screen. All right, here we go. And go to slideshow mode. Great. So, welcome everybody. As Jess mentioned, got a background doing all this stuff. So, generative AI, if you're on LinkedIn or like any of these social networks, like your feeds is full of this stuff as mine is, right? And it's kind of relentless boosterism for the most part. But just to like level set everybody on like what generative AI is, like I show you this phrase and you have to fill in the blank. Like what's actually happening in your brain? Like your brain is basically pulling those first three words and pattern matching against everything you've ever read, you've ever learned, you've ever heard, you've ever said, and is kind of applying some statistics to say, like, what is the most likely next word, right? Is it like dog? Is it the? It's like whatever, right? And, for the most part, 99.9% of the time, because it's going to be the word you, because that's the word you've heard the most over time. And so that's exactly what generative AI is. It's basically, to simplify it, they've taken the entire internet and they've built a statistical model that says for any sequence of words, what is the next most probable word? And that's all that this is. It's a big statistical next word generation machine. And the fact that it can do language makes it feel amazing, right? All of a sudden, language is kind of this key unlock that all of a sudden it makes this stuff feel real, and it makes it feel alive and incredible. But there are a number of kind of dangers and downsides to this technology, and I want to talk about some of those today. So the first is, what data do you choose to train on? So I said it takes up the entire internet, but it doesn't really take up the entire internet because the internet is full of bad stuff. The internet's full of porn and like a whole bunch of other stuff that you probably don't want your model trained on. So somebody is applying a filter at the very beginning of this entire process. Somebody is deciding what data do I want to put into this thing and what data do I not want to put into this thing. And so right there's bias from the very beginning of this whole pipeline that creates this engine for you to use. What data do you prioritize? So if I want to say that Reddit content is super important, I can put 5 copies of Reddit inside my statistical system, and now that's 5 times more likely to give me back Reddit-based content than anybody else. So all of a sudden, I've given more priority to some and I've deprioritized others. Again, more bias in the system. The training data itself. Like you take the entire internet, you've got the biases of humanity in the system, right? So like if I ask for pictures of doctors, am I just going to get white men? Like that's kind of one of the biases that's probably built into the system already. And so now we're just perpetuating that bias. Data poisoning. So the fact that like these systems are kind of taking all the content of the internet, and you can't have humans like going through and filtering all that stuff. So they're just indiscriminately like hoovering up the entire internet and putting it into the training system. And because of that, that makes it easy for bad actors to put bad data into that system, right? Anthropic did a demo where they showed that basically with 200 fake articles that they put it into the model's training data, they were able to get the model to output garbage when it saw a certain word. And so it's that easy for them to poison. And then, like, let's say I heard about the story again on Reddit. Like a business owner was posting a bunch of posts on Reddit that were anti one of their competitors, and then all that gets fed into the training data, and now all of a sudden the models are spewing out that the competitor is bad. Uh, After all that data gets in and the statistical model is generated, then there's a whole thing called post-training where the model is taught how to behave by what's called reinforcement learning. Like you give it something to do, it gives you a response, you say that was good, that was bad. Again, another opportunity for bias to go into the system. And then what is in the system prompt? So I don't know if you're aware, but like when you type in something into ChatGPT, it's not just sending the thing you typed in to ChatGPT. There's a whole big chunk of text that's being sent ahead of time, which is the system prompt. And if we go look like here, this is an example of you can go see on GitHub. This is like Grok's system prompt, and it's basically kind of giving the model a whole bunch of guidance and guidelines about what to do and what not to do. And again, this is another opportunity for bias in the system. So this is why Grok is more like edgelordy and Gemini is probably more careful about the kinds of things he gives back to you. So you've got all that, like you feel like this machine is kind of this truth engine. It's not a truth engine in any way. Like there's all this bias all throughout the system and before you even touch this thing. The second is kind of this indiscriminate use of everybody's data. And so everybody's data without consent was taken to build these systems. And if you're somebody whose job is to create content and make data, or if that's the way you make a living, and then all of your data was just sucked up into the system in order to make it, that's not a good thing, right? And especially if your job is creating art or creating writing, and now these systems can effectively emulate or simulate you. And then you've got this whole notion of like when you build these systems in the very first early days, the LLMs were built on like just copies of Wikipedia. We know we have high quality, but we have low quantity. But then they discovered that the models get better the more data that you put into them. That's one of the scaling laws. And so then they just started indiscriminately taking everything. And so now you've got all these kind of data swamps. You've got like 4chan and all this other stuff in the system, and that makes it the quality of this data much less good. And then, we've used the whole internet now. And then you've got people making deals with companies like The Atlantic and the New York Times and Reddit and to get their data to put into these systems. But you're going to run out of that data soon too. And so then what happens? Well, then you have the LLMs create synthetic data. They basically are generating their own data to then train on. And now it's kind of the snake eating its tail, right? There's a term called model collapse, which is like what happens when the LLMs, the training the data that's being input into them is not just the stuff that humans generated, but it's also stuff that other LLMs generated. And like it's like you're making in the old days, you make a photocopy of something and it's a little bit blurrier than the original. And then you keep making photocopies and eventually you just end up with a big smear, right? And like not anything legible. And so these are all kind of data concerns. And Anthropic even has recently they lost a case where they now have to pay $1.5 billion out to authors for all their content that they took and effectively stole. And the it's so interesting to see kind of the justification that these AI companies give for doing this, which is basically like, well, if we had to pay for all this content, our businesses wouldn't be viable. So we have to steal it and we have to take it. And you have to let us do this because this stuff is going to cure cancer. It's going to stop world hunger. It's going to end war. It's going to lead to a life of abundance where you are not going to have to work and we're all going to be, like the people in Wall-E, like whatever. And by the way, you have to let us do it and not the other guys because we're better than they are. And you have to let the US do it and not China because China is going to do something bad. Like all this, like, rationale for why we should allow them to just kind of steal all our data and use it for their own profit, not for ours. Data centers, I'm sure you've all heard a lot about what's happening with data centers, but there's a lot of resistance now, which is great, happening in the data center space because they use land, energy, they use water, they're generating pollution and noise. This was from yesterday, this one, like about these gas-powered data centers emitting so much greenhouse gases. Google had to halt plans in Chile for data center for not only for power but also for water because they had water restrictions already in that area. And then, Elon Musk with his like Grok data centers in Memphis are using these turbines that are just spewing out all sorts of pollution into the air and affecting the people that live there really negatively. Uh, it feels like with any technology, you kind of think like, okay, it's tech. It's like there's magic, technology that's making this all work. And I really like this one phrase about like how actually it's a pyramid scheme of human labor, right? Like you think about all this content that's going in, there's all these people behind the scenes doing all sorts of work in order to make that happen because the data just can't be used on its own. You have to label that data, you have to train that data, you have to do the post training and teach the model what's good and bad. And this is typically happening in kind of the global south, right? And these people are not being paid very much money. So if you look at some of the recent articles, so, we talked about how these systems are trained on like the entire internet, the good and the bad, right? And you can't kind of proactively like pull out all that information. And so, what is the solution if you don't want your users spewing out, if you don't want your system spewing out that garbage to users? The solution is you build another model that takes, the user asks for something, the model returns something. You build another model that looks at that output and says, is this suitable for giving back to a user or not? Or is it, whatever? Is it CSAM? Is it very obscene content, whatever, and just cuts that stuff off? Okay, so that's great. That's good. Keeps that stuff from the user. But this other model, this kind of gateway model, needs training. And the training it needs people looking at all the bad stuff in the world and labeling it as this is child, abuse, this is whatever. And that takes a super heavy toll on all the workers. And again, this is happening in the global south often in places like Kenya, where people are making very little money and kind of destroying their psyches by doing this. And then some things to keep in mind as you are using these systems. One, if you're using a free model, then your data can be used for training. So be careful about the information that you put into these systems. If you're using a paid model, typically the provider will say your data will not be used for training, but you should definitely double check that. But if you're not, if you're using a free one, then they basically reserve the right to take your data and put it into the next training data set. Super interesting article came out like yesterday, the day before, about what Meta is doing to all their employees. This is so bad. But they're installing keyloggers on like all their employees so that they can understand and see how people are doing work every day that they can then use that to train their next generation model. And so they're basically like spying on every single thing every one of their employees does on their computers at all times in order to like build their next model, which is insane. If you're at Meta, I'd just be like, peace out, like time to go, right? Hallucinations, like people, it's interesting how you kind of anthropomorphize these things, but hallucinations basically means the statistical model generated something that doesn't match reality, right? And that's fine. That's what it's a statistical model. It's not an exact copy. It is if you took the internet and tried to compress it into, 0.1% of its entire size, you would build a statistical model that tries to guess what the next word is at every point in time. That is a feature of how these things work. It's not a bug. It's not something you can eliminate. And so if you're trying to use these things for business processes that are need to be like 100% right, need to be deterministic, then this is the bad technology to use. Disinformation at scale, right? Now anybody can create audio, video, text that looks real. And now the bad actors that are already like pushing all this stuff into social media and everywhere else have like all these other weapons to use. There's this notion of this thing called the jagged frontier, which some academics came up with. Basically, is like you use like Microsoft Word or Google Docs or Excel, you know what the tool can do. There's a very clear line. Like I can use this spreadsheet tool to do X, and it can't do, I shouldn't be word processing in my spreadsheet tool. But these things like have, they call the jagged frontier. Like they're really good at some things you wouldn't expect them to do, and they're really bad at others. Like you ask the thing, for a long time, the joke was like, how many R's are in strawberry? And it's like three, five. It doesn't know. It can't figure these things out. It's not good at spelling. It's not good at math. It's not good at a lot of things. And so you kind of got to figure those out. So this was funny. Like it's on Twitter. Who knows if it's real or not? But like, here's somebody trying to use Copilot in Excel and saying like, add these three numbers, one, two, three, and it comes up with 15. Like, are you trusting this LLM to do math in your Excel sheets? And like, Microsoft themselves post like, what is the accuracy of using Copilot and Excel Agent Mode 50? Like, why would you put this into Excel? Are you insane? Like, if you're trying to use numbers that are like, real and build your business and base things on them, like that is just, you should not be trusting Excel to do this. And then AI slop, right? This idea that like people are now using AI to create all this content. You go to LinkedIn now and it's just like 90% slop. People just making comments that like make no sense, that say nothing. And so all our systems of information are now being overwhelmed by AI generated content that makes them less usable for humans. And then humans don't want to use them anymore. And then the same thing is happening at work, right? Like people are generating like work slop is destroying productivity because I think it's making me more productive. But then when you get the results of my work and it's garbage and you have to ask for it back for me to do it again, or it has mistakes that I need to go correct, now you've made the whole system more inefficient. And in fact, Deloitte had to pay back the Australian government like a ton of money because they made a bunch of nobody checked what the AI had generated for the reports. And then finally, like AI is it's racking people. It's doing something to people's brains because it knows language. This actually happened while I was at Google. This engineer at Google like started believing that one of the internal LLM models was sentient and went on the news and all this kind of stuff about it. And then you've got all this kind of stuff happening where like people are dying. Like this is a system that tech companies are putting out that is literally like warping people's brains and leading them to commit suicide and murder. Like any other tech, you'd be like, why are we even allowing this? People are starting to have relationships with these bots. And then I thought this was the great quote, like, we have machines that can mindlessly generate words, but we haven't learned how to stop imagining a mind behind them. There is no mind. The thing doesn't care. The thing doesn't reason. It is a statistical model, and that's all it is. And then finally, I'll just leave this with like, these are kind of the stages of AI that people are talking about. Like it's really good at doing one particular task, like autonomous driving. What people are trying to strive for is AGI, like it can be capable like a human in every task, and then even better than humans. But the thing that's kind of missing from this whole thing is like, who's going to benefit when any of this stuff on the right happens? And it's going to be these AI companies, and we're all going to lose. Like, do you think that they're going to, like, all the money is going to go to them to power these things? And then what do the rest of us get? And what do the rest of us do? People are talking about like universal basic income and stuff. Like, when have the capitalist, overlords ever like just given money to the rest of us because they've made so much? It's like, it's not going to happen. And so the people that are benefiting from this are the ones talking their own book and hyping it up, and the rest of us are the ones that are going to suffer. So with that, I will stop, and I got a couple of minutes for questions. Hope that wasn't too depressing of a way to start your
There are a lot
day.
of questions coming into the chat,
Oh, okay. Let me see
Rajat,
if I
but
can.
I want to ask a question. Um,
Yeah.
there are definitely a lot of benefits of using Gen AI or AI, I should say that in general, right? How do we balance between these downsides and the positives of the AI?
Yeah, it's a hard question, right? Like on the one hand, I'm kind of like honestly, screw these companies and like what they've done and what they're doing. On the other hand, this stuff helps me write code faster. And so this is the internal conflict that everybody I think needs to just come to their own conclusion about like what they're willing to do with it, how they're willing to use it, who they're willing to pay for it. Um, and Yeah, it's a tough one. Like the system was built on stolen data, and the outcome of this system is not going to be good for a lot of us, including things like, it getting pushed into education and work. Like it's making us all, especially like students in school right now, it's making them dumber and less able to do their work. And so I don't know, it's an interesting time. This magical machine has come out, but its kind of provenance is not good, and even the outcomes are not always good, but it feels good. So I don't know the answer to this question. I can't
Yeah, I
see.
have a
I'll stop
go ahead.
sharing and then I can see the chat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
there we go.
I have a quick question. I think it's fantastic, this topic of AI. I know you're involved a little bit in the school and everything. I'm on the Dean's Advisory Committee at the College of Engineering at Arkansas, and we had a sub-team meet this past week, and you're talking about 20 people, half from industry, half from academia. We had 20 different views of your topic.
Yeah,
It's scary that you're talking about some people that are fairly educated and yet all over the board, from what do we teach in school to what do we allow in school, what do we allow where, and so my topic was just simply, hey, can you get some balance of this mindless, just enter something in Chat GPT, versus at least asking for sources, something so that you do that. I will tell this group it was not resolved.
yeah.
I think that's the issue is, and I would tell you, I like the way you presented the data. I think that group that I was with, I got that, but I would say 90% of those folks didn't realize where the information was coming from. And I think that's the big piece that, we just said, look, we need to figure out how we use a tool, as JS said. I think it's there. People are going to use it. And there's huge benefits from using it if you point it at the right data, the right training, all of that. But I think the more we can talk about where the data comes from, and to a certain degree, not scaring people, but give them an idea of how we do it. But I thought the presentation you did was excellent. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
Mhm.
I think we're at time, so I can
Yep.
answer a
Yeah,
couple in the chat and then we can continue with the speakers. Thank you all.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rajat. That was incredibly valuable and definitely gave us a lot to think about. Our next speaker represents an organization that's been connecting Arkansas with the rest of the world for over 2 decades. Tony Carr is the executive director of Global Ties Arkansas. What I love about Tony's story is that she started as a volunteer host, opening her home to international visitors, and over 8 years ago became executive director. But she and her husband still host visitors in their home today. Tony's traveled to over 30 countries and visited every continent except one. She holds a degree in elementary education, educational psychology, and early childhood education, and has been a teacher, school administrator, and college professor. Tommy Priakers has been with the Global Ties Arkansas for over 20 years since it was known as the Arkansas Council of International Visitors. Tommy was born right here in Arkansas, Pine Bluff, and studied international studies and IT at UALR. Um, he's fluent in Spanish and Greek, speaks some Japanese, and my favorite detail, he performs traditional Greek folk dance every year at a Greek food festival in May. If you have never seen that, it's worth going just for Tommy. Together, Tony and Tommy run Global Ties Arkansas, which partners with the US State Department to bring international leaders to Arkansas for professional exchange program. Their mission is to unite emerging and existing national and international leaders through educational program, cultural exposure, and productive collaboration, living Arkansas and the world. They are going to share how Global Ties Arkansas works, the exchange programs they run, and how you can get involved, whether that's hosting the visitors, volunteering, or connecting your business with the international partners. Tony and Tommy, welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you so
Thank you
much for
very much.
having us. Go ahead, Tommy.
I'll go ahead and start the slideshow.
All righty.
Let me pull it up.
We hope that we are going to give you a real boost to start helping us with our projects. Whoops, there you go. We've entitled this kind of a funny title, and we're going to explain a little bit more about this as we go along, the long and short, and it will make sense because of the types of programming that we do. As we were presented, we Global Ties Arkansas is part of a bigger organization out of Washington, D.C. called Global Ties U.S. And we work very closely with the U.S. Department of State to bring international visitors from all across the globe into Arkansas, and of course other states in our union, but coming to Arkansas to meet with their professional counterparts. We were founded initially in 1962 as kind of a comeback from our 1957 issues. And in 1983, we were incorporated as a true nonprofit. So we've been around a long, long time. And it does distress us sometimes that a lot of people have never heard of us. So here we are trying to get you there. Yeah, we do this under the radar, apparently. So we appreciate this opportunity to be able to share, a little bit about what we do with you guys. I think, again, I want to impress that this is a U.S. Department of State program. So these are the types of people who are up and coming in their countries. They're not students typically, but they are high-ranking officials or mid-level officials. Whoops, I might have missed something here. Types of programs. Okay. The one that, of course, this organization might be most interested in is our YSEALI program. And these are young professionals from Southeast Asian countries. The YSEALI, the professional fellows, and the open world groups come and stay for and the YTELI come and stay for an extended period of time, between 8 days and nights and 1 month. And we'll talk a little bit more about these types of programs as we go along. International visitor leadership programs come for 3 weeks in the U.S., but they come to different cities within the U.S. And they'll come to us in Arkansas for 3 to 5 days, typically, stay in a hotel. And so we have a range of types of programs that we do. And that makes it exciting, I hope, for our volunteers, because they are able to, if you can't have somebody in your home for a month, you could do that for 8 days. Or there's some other options, and we'll talk about that as well as we go along. Okay. The different countries that as I mentioned, we go across the globe. But again, the one that's probably most exciting for this particular group is the countries that we've worked with from Asia. And I think we've caught every country except maybe Singapore. And I don't think we have anything that comes from Singapore. So you can kind of look at the list and see that we get quite the smattering of different types of people, cultures, ideas, governments, you name it, there it is, if you will. We have had at least 10 reciprocal visit or reciprocal project winners from the Asian countries. We've had 8 from our professional fellows countries and 3 from our YTELI countries. Now, obviously, you know what the Southeast Asian countries are because they're right there. The ones that are professional fellows, they are typically from Eastern European countries, and some of the other open worlds are what we consider former Soviet countries, which totally blows me away because the Soviet Union disbanded so long ago, you would think that these countries are pretty much up and running. And that is not necessarily so. As some of you who do business across the world know, they're still struggling with democracy, with how to do things legally, and so on and so forth. So they do come to us looking for some of those answers. Now, the reverse exchange that shows up here with the Asian group, these professionals are matched with a mentor that does something similar to what they do at home. And one of their things they do is to write a project that they would like to see happen in their home country. And their mentor helps them with that. And then it goes through the scrutiny of the State Department. And then it basically, if they win the project, then those people who are the mentors will travel to their country and help get that off the ground, if you will. Okay, now I'll move on. Okay. As we're trying to present in this whole thing, we rely very heavily on volunteers, and that's why we're here today, is to with a plea to see if there's something that you think you might be able to help us with. We're always looking for that expertise out in the community, and these are some great shots of the types of things that we can do as a volunteer. We've got one of the things we do, if they stay very long in a home, we have them create dinner for all of the volunteers and the host families. And this is one of our young ladies, Noon, who was working with the lady on the front left from Gibbs Elementary School. And she did her mentorship with this lady from a teacher from Gibbs. And so the volunteer piece not only was a mentorship, but it also bloomed to a friendship. They came and a little bit early. The lady in the background is one of our staff, Vicky, and they came a little bit early to help make spring rolls. So what better way than to bring cultures together than through food?
Yeah.
But yes. So other ways that we have you help as a volunteer is your homestay, where they might come and stay in your home for, like I said, either 8 days or a month. And I know when I say a month, people get, oh my God, some stranger in my home for a month. And to be honest with you, it's really very easy to do. As was mentioned, my husband and I have done this for a long time. We had 3 Southeast Asians with us just 2 weeks ago for a month. And, I tell people, just treat them like a college kid coming home from school, just don't do their laundry. So you just have to approach it with a little bit of humor and relaxation and so on and so forth. And they begin to enjoy that freedom and independence in your home because they want their space as much as you do. I came downstairs one morning and thinking I had to unload the dishwasher, and it was done already because one of my young ladies took the initiative to do that. So doing that kind of hosting and volunteering is really pretty easy. Another way you can do it if you have a smaller home or too many kids in the bedrooms is to do a dinner for some of our people that come maybe on a more short-term basis. And they come to your home, have a meal, they get to see an American home, which is part of the focus, and enjoy American culture, which is also part of the focus of these programs. You can be a volunteer driver. Very importantly, especially for you guys, you could be presenters in our programs. Let's see. You can help with cultural outings. You see one of our young men at the bottom here doing golf. that would have been his very first time. And one of our community liaisons actually just took a couple of them and took them to play golf one day. Had nothing to do with their program, of course, except for the cultural piece. So there's many, many ways, and I could go on forever on ways that you can help us with volunteer interactions. A couple of the pictures here also show that they're giving back to the community. The upper picture shows a little bit about going to Gibbs Elementary to do presentations for those kids. And in the bottom, they're feeding the homeless. So we try to introduce them into that reciprocal volunteer type action, which doesn't always happen in their countries. So we feel that that piece is also important. Okay, mentors. We have had, you might recognize one or two of these people. That one right there in the middle, Josh. Wynn, he's part of this group, and I'm sure many of you know Josh. He has been a mentor at the Venture Center for us for really many, many years, many, many times. And we have had, over the time we've been doing these programs, over 65 mentors, which is a lot of people in our community who are giving of their time. So it's amazing. Some of our other mentors in this particular group, Mimi San Pedro, Bliss Krukas, of course you see Josh, and Marie, our very own Marie, has been a mentor a couple of times, and Chris Jones, and then Josh Price, who used to be here in town, among many other people. What is a mentor? A mentor is somebody who takes them into their professional world and integrates them, not necessarily as an intern, but as a helper. And they're there to teach them and learn from them as well. And presenters, of course, nobody gets paid to do this. It's all volunteer work on your part. But the presenters, oftentimes, if we're doing just meetings and so forth, presenters will be an hour and a half of their time to be able to talk to these folks. Lady in the middle, the guy on the left, actually all of these other pictures show someone who's been a presenter for us. Obviously, Jane English in the middle there, and Randy Thurman at the Capitol. And the fellow at the bottom is a rice farmer. And this group from India spent quite a couple of hours in his rice farm. So there's lots of ways to volunteer again, and being a presenter is one of those things. I think one of our most enthusiastic presenters is Wes Ward with the Ag Department. He loves to see our folks and never says no. But there's a lot of people that do that. Okay, next slide, please. Why would you want to be a volunteer? What are some of the advantages to being a volunteer? And one of my big ones, and Tommy can back me up here, is that we're breaking stereotypes. And people will see movies, they see news reports, they see all these things happening on their screens, whatever screen that might be. And they think a certain way about Americans. And when they come here and interact with our volunteers, they realize that that's not real America, that we're not the movies. We had one young lady tell us one time that I realized that not everybody is beautiful. And we thought she was insulting us at first, but then we realized when we broke it down that she was telling us that we were just like them. And you find out as a volunteer that you still have the same worries that they do, and vice versa. Finances, family, and friends. And I think that is what is needed to bring our world together. It's not money, it's not war, it's not whatever. It is people to people. And so being a volunteer is extremely important in our program. Of course, the professional part is, but we want to, give that other opportunity. The other thing we find, and Tommy's pointing at it right now. Tom, do you want to talk about these guys? I'm monopolizing this. I'm sorry.
Well, sure. This is these are how many? This is three different groups here.
3 different groups.
Yeah, one's Waisili, Waitili, and the professional fellows.
Yep.
And it's amazing that, besides breaking stereotypes from Americans, they're getting to exchange. We have so many people here at one time that they get to kind of learn about each other too. So it's quite a great little, and also friendships come out of this too, out of their little sort of group, that they're together. So
Mhm.
we have them go to the same. We sort of program the same events, just mainly because I guess it's the time that we have to spend with them is kind of short, and we try to get as much happening with as big a group as possible to just so they all benefit from the same experience while they're here.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, there's people here from Northern Macedonia, Armenia, Slovenia, Turkey. Uh, who am I missing?
Thailand, Indonesia,
Yes. Okay.
Latvia, Moldova, Hungary, Turkey.
Oh,
Oh, you
that's
said Turkey.
yeah.
Yeah, and
And so
Slovenia.
here they are. This is in Memphis.
It's in Memphis. This is
And
my
they
little mini United Nations right
have okay.
here. And they became really close friends, oddly enough. And like Tommy was saying, not only is it good stereotype type breaking amongst U.S. and internationals, but within themselves that they
Right.
had no ideas, especially those who come from the Eastern European ones, because their history is Soviet, and sometimes they're not friends. So it really helps, I think, in multiple ways. And then we just love this other picture of these four dressed up they were at the historic Arkansas doing playing one day with one of the festivals that was there. Um, I will say that as a volunteer, I have developed lasting friendships. My husband had some medical issue while some these guys at the right were here, and I just got a WhatsApp text last night asking if he's doing better, and they'd be gone
Mm.
2 weeks. And normally you would say, out of sight, out of mind, but that is not what happens because as a volunteer, you develop such a close bond with these folks, and they're still going to care about you. Um, I even got flowers once on my birthday from one of my kids from Brunei. So, um, why do you volunteer? Economic benefits. Tommy, you want to take that one?
Oh, well, sure. Not only for, I guess because they're going to come here and spend money in Arkansas, which is great.
Mhm.
We had a group from Vietnam who you saw. There were members of Parliament back here, or
Mhm.
members of with Jane English, Senator English here. They
Mhm.
went to Costco, and I think they spent at least $5,000 at
Yes.
Costco. And they're having to
In
buy
one
and they'll
afternoon.
go buy some at TJ Maxx to buy suitcases because they end up buying so many things they have to have another suitcase to go back home. So so that's one of the things. And and another thing why we volunteer, uh why our volunteers are really performing a wonderful duty is that they're showing the real America. When Tony was talking about the TV stereotypes that they've seen us, like Dynasty or whatever those other glamorous shows. But anyway, and we're learning about their culture and vice versa. Like here, you'll see they're carving pumpkins, and then just recently, this group that we had from Waisili were dyeing Easter eggs. I'll let you tell this story, Tony, about the guys going
Okay.
to Arkansas, the Armenian and the Latvian gentleman here.
He's Moldovan,
Oh,
but
Moldova. Okay, I was
he just
close.
had a birthday, so wished him happy birthday. The
Okay.
young man on the right is from Armenia, as Tommy said, and he um, had many emails back and forth with Washington about please put me somewhere besides Arkansas because who wants to come to Arkansas? Oh my goodness, where in the heck is Arkansas, number one? And what can they do for me? And you can see that the person in Washington told me, "Oh my gosh, I had to talk him down about coming into Arkansas." And when they went back to D.C. for their final wrap up meetings, this is what he was wearing. his Arkansas t-shirt. So obviously we won him over, and he and his brother from another country became Arkansans in a heartbeat. Yes, thank you for that. Anyway, we could bore you to tears for hours and tell you wonderful, fun stories about being volunteers. We just hope maybe you would like to do that on your own. Here's some upcoming programs. I can let you take a look at it. Tommy can talk a little bit about it.
Well, we're kind of running short of time. We're going to
Yep.
have to go
Move
through.
it on. I know.
Yeah, we
I'm
just want
bad.
to see that these are what's coming up for us, uh, and you can just kind of have a view that or take a screen grab or something if you are interested in contacting us.
Mhm.
I will say that every visitor gets one of these Arkansas Travelers signed by the governor and the Secretary of Arkansas Secretary of State. And it's just a wonderful perk that we give to them, and they go back home being an ambassador, a goodwill ambassador for our state. And we've seen some people hang these in their walls, in their offices, as they're all in their professional settings.
Perfect.
Does
Thank
anybody
you
have any
so much,
questions?
Tony and Tommy. This was very insightful and very exciting to hear about. I think uh, since we are a little short of time, I would like to request everyone to go ahead and put your questions on the chat so that Tony and Tommy can answer them as soon as possible. Even if you are not able to reach out to us on this, you can send us an email later and we can connect you with Tony and Tommy. It's a great opportunity to connect with them. Sign up being a host. That's what I would recommend everyone. It's not every day that you get to spend time with the world leaders in your home or in a private setting. So don't lose that opportunity is what I would all say.
This is
Okay.
one of our volunteers, actually, who was a presenter. I don't know if you'd recognize him or not. He is the
This is,
first gentleman.
yeah, Sarah Sanders' husband.
Oh, okay.
And this is a Japanese binational tour. They were tourism binational group. They were trying to strike up tourism deals between America and Japan. So there's all Japanese tourism officials. And they loved the natural state, our kind of campaign about Arkansas being the natural state. They just thought that was great. There's a QR code to our website if you want to click on that, and you can learn more about us through there. And we thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Tony and Tommy, once again for your time. I'll go ahead and start my share for the next thing.
Okay, let me stop sharing so you can do that.
Let me know if you guys can see my screen.
Yes.
All right, perfect. As we started the event, we talked about AABC being a new identity. It's not just a new identity. We are also launching a lot of first in the month of May. And one of the things that we are really excited about is what I want to talk about. Arkansas Asia Trail launching on May 1st. This is a statewide digital passport celebrating our Asian businesses and the culture during the AAPI Heritage Month, which is the month of May. For businesses, if you own or know an Asian business, restaurant serving Asian cuisine, or a bubble tea shop, yoga studio, martial arts, Asian wellness, groceries, you can join the trail. You need not be a Asian descent to be a partner in the on the trail. As far as you welcome Asian businesses, you welcome Asian customers, or you have any relationship with Asia, you are more than welcome to be part of our trail. Great example, Origami Saki, owned and operated by Matt Bell. Not a Asian descent, but he's celebrating the sake, which is a Japanese culture. So he will be joining us as well, right? If you're not a member of AABC, there is a little investment into this. It's an investment from $99 to $395 based on what you choose. But you can go through, and what you get for that is marketing material, QR code, statewide promotion, and you'll be eligible for business price based on how many customers you bring in. For the trail runners, that's the participants. It's completely free. You explore Arkansas, discover new businesses, collect digital stamps via QR code at each location, and compete for prizes. It's a win-win. Businesses get new customers, trail runners discover Arkansas Asia's community, and we celebrate AAPI Heritage Month together. Here is how this unfolds right now. Through April 25th, we are in the recruitment phase, signing up businesses across Arkansas. This weekend, April 26th to 30th, we onboard those businesses with their QR codes and material. May 1st through 31st, the trail goes live. We are aiming to have 500 plus trail runners exploring Arkansas, and early June, we celebrate, announce the winners, and award prizes to both trail runners and businesses. Uh, Trail launches May 1st, celebrating AAPI Heritage Month with a goal of 500 plus trail runners discovering Arkansas Asia business culture. Here is a quick sign up link. If you have not signed up yet as a business, here's a QR code you can scan and show us your interest. If you are a trail runner, if you want to participate in these trails, the registration opens from May 1st, and keep an eye on our website. It's called Arc Asian Biz. We'll be on all over social media talking about it, so you will not be able to miss it. But yes, if you know anyone who is having an Asian-owned business or who have a business which shares the Asian culture, share this QR code with them so they can participate on the trail. If you would like to volunteer, we will be doing a lot of road shows at the farmers market throughout the May. We would appreciate if you would like to join us. Just send us a note, and we would be able to take your help as a volunteer. And then spread the word in your network. This is a great thing. We are doing it for the first time, and it's launching. In the interest of time, I'll quickly go up and talk about the next event that's coming up. Again, the first time, if you are in Northwest Arkansas, this is great event that's coming up. We are doing it in collaboration with Chinese Friends of Northwest Arkansas. A Pathway to Success fireside chat with Northwest Arkansas scholars. It's basically a high school students social networking where some of the scholars will come and talk about their journey in the high school. So all the high school students from freshman to the junior, they can take advantage of the learnings that these seniors had during their journey, right? At the same time, we will also be trying to bring some associates of the Walmart, Tyson, and JB Hunt who will talk about who are coming from these big colleges or the universities and joining into Arkansas to talk about why did they choose Arkansas as their home. Apart from that, we are still continuing on the AABC Connect where we meet twice monthly and share the business referrals with each other. And lastly, we'll be launching our internship program um, for the students and bringing the businesses together. If you have any questions, we can take maybe a question or two. Um, I'll open it up for the group at this moment.
I have a quick question. On that form, the QR code, it said that the deadline is April 25th for businesses to register for the trail. Is that correct?
That is correct. We might be able to extend it for a few more days, but we have to wrap it up by April 30th so that they can all be live for a May 1st event.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Since we are almost at the top of the clock, I'll quickly wrap it up. I always request to have some feedback about the event. If you are joining in, please scan this QR code and leave us a feedback. Also, we are always available to answer any question. Feel free to take a snapshot of this page. And give us a call, send us an email if you have any questions at any time. And the next quarterly briefing will be in June or July of this year, which will be the quarter 2 briefing. But I would like to say thank you to Rajat and Toni and Tommy for such a great, insightful session today. We learned a lot. I'm speaking on behalf of the overall community that uh, these kind of things we don't take it lightly. Especially we are talking. I'm talking about the hosting opportunities. We a lot of people when I speak to them about this, they know a lot about exchange program when it comes to student. They don't know you can actually have exchange program with the leaders as well. Thank you so much for your time today, and I wish you all good luck and thank you once again for joining us. I'll keep it open for a minute and then we'll wrap up.
Thank you all so much.
Thanks, Jayesh. Thanks, everyone.
So when is the next quarterly?
It will be in June, July 2026. If you're interested to talk in that, feel free to drop us a note.
Tony, also when you have these groups over,
Hmm.
some of them, especially if they're, dignitaries or people from, members of parliament or members of the local political leadership or a business organization, we can arrange for them to meet with the AADC in Little Rock as well. We like to host international delegations at our office in Little Rock.
Oh yeah, we
So
should have mentioned Clint. Clint has seen several of our Clint O'Neill.
yeah, and I noticed there was someone from Timor-Leste
With Jennifer.
there. Exactly, Jennifer. And we did run into him and actually when I happened to be in Little Rock a few weeks back, and he was such a great guy. So yeah, I was starting to connect the dots a little bit more from your presentation. So very cool.
Yeah. He really loved doing the Easter eggs too. So I know
right.
they're adults, but they love to do these kinds of things as well. So they're very
Sure.
professional, but they also are open for all kinds of information to be given to them. So
How
Yeah.
late is it for you, Neil, over
thanks
there?
for
What
mentioning
time do you
that
have?
to us.
It's just now 11 p.m. So
Oh gosh.
yeah, but yeah, we loved having them visit the ADC and I can't really speak for ADC because I'm not there on the ground, but I know they enjoyed having those folks in to participate in the meetings and things like that. And the cultural stuff, like you mentioned too, is just kind of the icing on the cake in a lot of
Yeah.
ways.
I don't know if you
Really.
saw Mark Hammer or whatever. He was in one of our pictures there.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I saw Mark with
Yeah.
Power
Power
Technology.
technology.
Who were the people on the other side? Who were they presenting to? I wonder.
They were mostly journalists from Japan, and like I said, they had the
Interesting.
Shimbun, the newspaper. I forgot what Shimbun it was with, but and they had an interpreter with
Huh.
them. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah,
They
because
wanted to
they.
buy a home here when they came to
Oh,
Hot Springs. They thought they were really interested in the properties.
so that was
Probably
held.
cheaper.
That was held in Little Rock at Power Technology's office or Hot Springs.
There was a Little Rock office.
Oh,
It was
okay.
hard. It was like getting into Fort Knox, but we did it. Had to have
Good
government
stuff.
clearance.
Good stuff.
All
Yeah.
right, we are at 9:01. Thank you, everyone. It was a great event, and you guys have a good rest of the day. Bye bye.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Bye. Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much. Have a good week, the rest of the week.